Have you ever been so busy trying to keep everything together that you stop paying attention to yourself? For many women, especially in midlife, being busy, achieving, working, caring for others, and simply getting on with life can feel normal. But what happens when your body tells you to stop? Today on the Marvellous-U Podcast, we're having a conversation about something many women struggle with: balance, identity, career, success, and knowing when it's time to slow down and listen to yourself. My guest is a coaching psychology practitioner with a background in recruitment, education, and career development. She supports people to move towards meaningful, strength-aligned work and has a particular passion for helping midlife women rethink their careers, identity, and what success really means. But recently, her own health journey gave her a very personal reason to think differently about balance. She shared her experience of silent strokes and how that health care made her stop and reflect on the way she was living, working, and defining success. So today, we are going beyond the usual conversation about career success. We're talking about what happens when achievement comes at the expense of our well-being, why so many women struggle to put themselves first, and how we can begin creating a life that is not only successful but sustainable. If you are a woman who has ever felt exhausted, stuck, disconnected from yourself, or wondered, is this really the life I want? This conversation is for you. Welcome to the Marvellous-U Podcast, and welcome my guest, Maria Varela. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on the Marvellous-U Podcast. I'm looking forward to having an honest, meaningful conversation with you today. My aim is to create a safe and relaxed space where you can share your experience, insights, and practical wisdom in a way that encourages and also inspires our audience. So, like you know, we share the same passion, like we work in the same space of helping women in midlife, transition, people that are going through career changes, and, those that are in the journey of rediscovering themselves. So I'm going to be asking you some questions, and I hope that our audience will pay attention to the wisdom and the practical advice that you're here to give today. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we go into the interview proper, please just tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey.
So I am somebody who started working from a very young age. So I've been working since I was 16 years old, and now I'm 51. So a long time of professional working history. I started off as a hairdresser. And I was fortunate enough to own my own business as a hairdresser in North London, in Islington, at the age of 20. So at 20, I got a business loan and owned my own salon. And it was a very successful salon in Angel. And I had that for about 5 years, but something was calling me to do something different. Sold the salon, and I retrained and became a Montessori teacher. And I was a Montessori teacher for about 16 years in total. In that time, I finished my training. I had moved to Spain because heritage-wise, I was born and raised in London, but I have Spanish parents. So my husband at the time, we both decided to move to Spain, to Valencia, and we had our son. But then very quickly, I went through a divorce and had to come back to London. So then it was dealing with being a single parent and having to balance being a parent and being a full-time working parent. And then I wanted something more. So I decided, because I didn't have a degree, I wanted to go into university to get a degree to continue to be more successful and climb that career ladder. Yeah. So I went to university and studied psychology, part-time distance learning while I was working. I left teaching at that point and became a recruiter, and I was recruiting for about under a year, 10 months. And then COVID hit. And for the first time in my life, I didn't have a job, which for me was like my identity. Like you just say, hey, how are you? And like you identify with your career. That's who you are. So for the first time, I didn't have a job, and I felt like I didn't have an identity. Very quickly, I managed to, after 4 months, to find a job in the career space, fit sphere, and working as an enterprise coordinator between schools and colleges and businesses. And I was working as a career consultant in that world. And then tragedy hit. My husband died from my second husband died from cancer very suddenly. Within 10 weeks, and I was just rocked. Our whole family was rocked. Fast forward, grief it's tough. And then I've decided to. My son also was going through university. Well, going through his A levels. Didn't want to go to university, so he went off traveling. I decided to go traveling, and then in my travels, my solo travels, I decided to. I graduated in between all of that as well. I graduated my psychology, and then tried to sort of look at being a coaching psychologist and working remotely and building my own coaching company, Phoenix Coaching. Which is what I'm doing now. So that's a very snapshot of my background, my life.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm really, sorry to hear about the loss of your husband. That must be a very terrible time in your life and in your journey. But I'm glad that you've been able to walk through that to be where you are today. It must have been a very difficult time, going through all of that. But just to follow on from there, what inspired your work in coaching psychology? What are you most passionate about your work today?
What really inspired me and what really made me sort of take off and go down that route was when I started psychology. We experimented and learned about different branches of psychology, and I very quickly knew that a counselor or a therapist was something so meaningful, so important, but I don't think I had the capacity to work in that sphere. But I really knew that I wanted to be helping and supporting others. So for me, it was very much about when I was doing my dissertation, and it was based on women in their career stage, changing, transition, identity, and interviewing these amazing women. I came to realize that it's such a pivotal point, 50s or late 40s, where that change and that transition. And I felt that there was such a need for supporting and empowering women to go through this change and to really live in alignment with what they want and how they want to continue living for, after the career they originally had. And for me, that coaching psychology work and fusing the mind, the body together and looking at the whole body, the whole human being in front of us was so important and so core to who I am that I just thought this just felt right for me.
Yeah. And you're right. When women, we get to that stage in our life, midlife, in our late 40s, we really begin to question and a lot of us will go through that career transition and we want to, explore other things that we can begin to do. So, it's good that you are in that field today.
Yeah.
But let's go back to your health journey. You recently shared your experience of having silent strokes and how it changed your perspective of life. Would you be willing to tell us about what happened?
Sure. So I was traveling around Southeast Asia by myself for about 10 months. I was due to come back to the UK, and about a week before I was due to come back, I was in Indonesia. I was in Lombok on a random Tuesday, and I started getting tingling sensation up and down my arms. And now I knew I suffered from high blood pressure, and I was taking medication for high blood pressure. And I just thought, oh my God, am I having a stroke? Like, what's going on in my body? Long story cut short, I had hospital visits and tests and CT scans and MRIs, and I was diagnosed with having several silent strokes, which was terrifying, being millions of miles away on my own in a different country. And I was petrified because I didn't know if I could fly back to the UK. I didn't know if this was going to get worse, if I was going to actually have a full-on stroke, if I was going to ever see my family, my son again. It was so scary. But actually, what was scary also was the fact that my silent strokes wasn't related to what I was experiencing. They said that I was B vitamin 12 deficient, and that's why I was experiencing these tingles. And through the MRI, they told me I had silent strokes, but I didn't have symptoms of experiencing the silent strokes, which was terrifying because I would have never discovered I had several silent strokes if I hadn't had that MRI. And it's apparently very common. So now I'm back in the UK, the last 7 weeks, I've had even more tests and even more scans, and still investigating what's going on with my brain and my body.
Wow, that must have been really scary, because what I hear you say is that if not for the tingling, they wouldn't even know that you were having silent strokes. And these two things are not even related.
No, they're not related at all.
Any warning signs?
No warning signs.
Wow.
I knew I had high blood pressure for the last 6 years. I was on medication. I was controlling my blood pressure in terms of I was monitoring it every day and taking the meds. And in my 10 months of travels, I was the healthiest I've ever been. I was eating really cleanly. I was exercising. I was doing mindfulness and meditation and journaling. I was in the height of my sort of healthy journey lifestyle. And yet this still happened to me.
It's really shocking, really shocking. Yeah. How did this experience change your priorities?
You know, it's a tough one because it happened a week before I was due to come back. And coming back, I'm selling my property in London and buying a new property. And London just asks things of you. It demands you to be active and busy, and that's who I am. I'm very active. If I've got a thing to do, I'm 100 miles an hour, and I haven't really stopped. But it's changed me because it really has made me think that even if all the work that you're doing internally and externally now doesn't discount the years of my high blood pressure and all the trauma from my childhood or from losing my partner, Simon, my husband, Simon, like your body does keep score. Your body holds on to that trauma, and it's constant work of looking after your health and your body as well as your mind. And so it's changed me that my gratitude is that I'm thankful to be alive every single day. And I'm just in the process of just being as present as I can be, as much as I can be.
Oh, in fact, there's a lot to be grateful for. Like you say, being thankful that you're here, because anything could have gone wrong, But to think that you were experiencing that and you didn't even know, and you are here today, that is a lot to be grateful for. Let's rethink success now and what it means. Before your head scare, how did you define success?
So defining success is a tough one because and it's different for me now. It's like how I define success before my husband died and like after, because when you have something as traumatic as that, it really shifts your perspective. So previous to that, it was very much go, achieve. And I was never fully appreciative or very aware of what I was doing. Other people would say, oh my God, you've done so much. You don't stop. Maria's just this powerhouse of, and I'm like, yeah, but this is what we do. Everyone's busy, having the salon and being a parent and like doing all, and it was like nailing my KPIs at work and like doing great projects and being like really on point with my work and raising a son and like maintain. And there's constant spinning
Everywhere.
plates.
Yeah.
And for me, success was about keeping those spinning plates and still smiling and still going on and like constantly. But now success is very much about maintaining that relationship with myself, my non-negotiables, maintaining a relationship, a healthy, strong connection with my son who's 20, who's also traveling, with my family, with my friends, and really honoring myself and protecting my peace. And that's for me what success looks like.
Yeah, and of course, you know, when you have gone through something like that, it has a way of shifting your perspective about life and about what success means to you. You know, what do you think many women misunderstand about success?
I think, and what I did this, I thought that success was such an external verification, validation of everything that you can do. So having that house, and that the house, that not just having the house, but having a neat, tidy, clean house all the time.
Exactly.
And having the foods in the cupboard so that when unexpected guests came around,
There's
you could
something.
host, you know, and then nailing it at work and hitting all those KPIs. And it's the having, it's that checklist. It's like when somebody says to you, hey, how are you doing? You okay? You go through that mental checklist: work good, family good, life good, like health,
Ticking all the
weight.
boxes.
You know, you're ticking the boxes, and that's what success felt like to me. And I think that misconception of it, you're not doing it for other people. Success is that internal, I'm okay, I'm doing it for me. It doesn't matter that external validation. My internal, I'm okay, I'm doing it for me, which is such a shift, because society, we live by what society tells us is to be a successful woman. To be a successful woman, you have to do it all. You have to work harder than the men. You have to work harder than your other females, you know, because there's always, you have to constantly, you've got to have it all. And that's what it means to be successful as a woman, to be independent. You have to be loving, but not too loving. You have to be independent, but not too independent. You have to look good, but not too good. You know, you have to hit all those boxes. And it really isn't, you know, it's, and it makes us like hit that burnout quicker than we know.
Yeah, I think that's so key, you know, because many women, you know, they truly misunderstand success. They think it's about the performance that they do for others, you know, to fulfill societal expectation or family expectation. But it's not about what you do for others. It's about being in alignment with yourself and what works for you, really. So it makes me think about the next question. Why do you think so many women keep pushing themselves despite feeling exhausted?
Because we just have to. It's what the narrative society tells us. It's in everything that we consume, our social media feeds, it's our programs we watch, the podcasts we listen to, the books we read. It's coming at us at such an alarming rate that, you know, you can have your cake and eat it. You can do all of these things. And if you're not, you're failing, you know. And I'm even seeing, you know, people as young as 20 saying, oh my God, I haven't figured it out yet. I'm behind. I'm like, no, you aren't. You're in, like, you know, it's, but you always feel you have to keep up and just push that envelope and that button and move forward always, without really pausing to think if this is what you want or what you need. You know, it's, you have to, I felt that this is what I had to do. And if I didn't, I was failing life. I was failing adulting. To be a successful adult, that's what it means to be a successful adult, a successful woman.
So pressure from society, pressure from social media to be, you know, of course, social media doesn't really help because it shows you the picture of this woman that seems to have it all together. She's succeeding in different areas. And then it makes you feel like, oh my God, I am not doing enough. Oh, I think I'm behind in life. I need to keep pushing. Even when you're feeling exhausted, you're putting yourself in competition with somebody that's not even aware that you're existing just because you see them on social media. And I think that is really, Yeah, it's really a dangerous way to live.
Yeah.
Let's talk about finding balance, because balance will mean different things to different people. What does balance mean to you today?
Today, balance means something very different to what it did mean. I thought
Mm,
balance was very much about maintaining those spinning plates and keeping
mm,
all those checklists in balance and keep those spinning plates turning and spinning away
mhm.
and doing everything and with a smile on your face and like, I've got this, I can do this, big girl
Yeah.
pants on. But
Mm,
balance for me now is about choice. It's about perspective, different perspectives and choice.
mm,
It's from everything I've learnt and listened to and spoken about and lived. It's very much about pausing and being and
mm,
then acting. We're very, we, even though we're called human beings, we're scared to be, because we nail doing. We're good achievers. We can
mm,
do, even the person that procrastinates, and we still do. We do
mm,
things at 100 miles an hour, whereas being is terrifying. Just stopping and being. We're
mm,
not human doers, we're human beings, and that is a huge difference. And
mm,
we always plug at this thing and what we're doing without pausing to think, is this the right way of doing something? Is this
mm.
the only way of doing things? So for
Yeah.
me, balance is about pausing and trying on different perspectives, seeing different ways of doing something or looking at something, and
Mm,
choosing to then, from a pace of pause and reflection, then moving forward and
yeah.
doing that from a place of alignment with your most authentic self, opposed to just doing something because it's what we've always done. And
Yeah,
that's my only
exactly.
choice. Balance is about choice.
Mm. I like that. We are human beings, not human doings. And sometimes we are always in that state of doing, 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 and never really getting to that place where we sit down to pause and be, just be. And
Just be.
the other thing you said, it's about thinking about ways, thinking of another perspective to doing, which, I said, I've shared this story before, because there was a time also I was just doing, doing, doing until I came to a place where I wanted the whole world to stop, and the world did stop because COVID happened. I didn't want to do anything anymore because I was tired of doing. I just wanted to be. And if a COVID was, I always tell people that COVID was a blessing to me, because if COVID didn't happen, I don't know if I would still be here,
Yeah.
because I was just in that constant state of doing, and I got tired. I was burnt out. And like you say, thinking of another perspective, I was running a club for girls in the community. COVID made it difficult to even meet in person, but I had to think. I have a passion to support young girls, to make them realize that they can make their teenage years amazing. How do I do this differently without burning myself to the ground? And that was how I came to start writing my first book, which is titled Hey Girl. So now it's not just about working with girls in the community. Like I said, how do I get this message across to girls in different parts of the world? And a book helped me do that. So, when you said that it's about thinking of another perspective of doing, I can relate to that. So
Yes.
it's not about, I think the highlight for me is we are human beings, not
Yeah.
human doings. And that is so
Doings.
important. So let me ask you, what changes have you made to protect your health and well-being?
So for me, like what I'm a doer. I've got such a high, everyone says I have a high work ethic and standard. And I think it's one of my best qualities. I work to a high standard.
Yeah.
And then when I had to pause and reflect on the grief and what do I do now as an empty nester, as a woman in my 50s, the traveling really helped me stop and question who I am, what I want, what are my values. And for me, my non-negotiables in doing that is literally waking up super early in the morning, and doing my mindfulness, my meditation, and then while I'm drinking my hot water and lemon, and then I go to journal as I drink my black Americano, and I journal, and I do my gratitude and journaling, everything that's in my head. I just put down on paper, this stream of consciousness. And then I exercise. And if I only have 10 minutes, that's what I'm going to do, a 10-minute mobility, because I'm in my 50s. I have dodgy knees, and I want to be able to climb Kilimanjaro because I want to. I want to be able to do things in my old age, and I want to be able to choose to do them and not my body choose for me. So for me, movement, mobility exercises, if I look at my to-do list in the morning, and if I only have 10 minutes, then I do 10 minutes. But for me, I will always look at my to-do list the night before and plan the day. And if I've got nothing in that morning, I can have a bit of a lie-in. But if I know that I have a 9 o'clock or I have to be at work for 8 or 9, then I get up at 5, and that non-negotiable time of mindfulness, meditation, journaling, and exercise are core. They are my slow mornings of what I learnt in my travels. And that's what I brought back to London, of how I live now. Because it definitely wasn't part of my practice when I was living in London. It was like 100 miles an hour doing all these spinning plates. But now it's a non-negotiable for me, for my health, for my sanity.
It's something I'm really learning, especially the exercise. Like you say, even if it's just 10 minutes. Yesterday, I said, even if it's just 7 minutes, I just needed to do this. Today, I was going to go for a walk for longer than that. It's something I'm really trying to make as part of my non-negotiable, because as midlife women, like you say, we want to be able to stay strong, because there's still so much to do. And the last thing you want is for your legs not to be able to carry you, or you're lying down in the bed, you can't do anything. And so it's important that we protect our physical health and our well-being. So thank 100%. You for sharing that. The next question I want to ask, what boundaries have been the hardest to establish?
With my family, with my parents. Particularly, they're the hardest, and boundaries with myself of not always people pleasing, and not always thinking of others and putting myself first. So protecting my peace has been core to my sanity, and learning to say no, and saying, I want to keep everyone happy, and I want to make everyone like, and I'm like, I can't, and I just, and being around toxic people, negative people, I can't, I refuse. And I used to always want to see the best in them, and I'm like, no, I can't. I used to like you, we used to like, but now I can't. I'm putting myself first. So the boundaries of being around toxic, negative people, absolutely no. And being around or doing things that are in contrast to my values, or are opposing, taking me away from my values, that's a hard no. And protecting my peace in the morning, that's core for me.
That resonates with me deeply. And I just want to ask, how do you deal with the guilt of setting those boundaries?
I'm still dealing with the guilt. Trust me, it's not easy. It really isn't. It's so tough. Guilt.
Tough. I had to walk that road, and I'm still walking that road. Yeah. The guilt that comes, but then, I keep reminding myself, the truth is, if I am not here today, these people will still be okay. If my saying no is not about them, it's about my peace and my well-being. Difficult as it is, I know that this is something I need to do, because I cannot continue to exist in this way. Like you say, when you are a people pleaser, you are always a yes, 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 yes. Even when it is not at your convenience, you are self-sacrificing all the time. And I came to a point, I said, no, I can't continue to do this. And so
Yeah.
it comes with that guilt, but you know that you have to do this because it's about your health and about your well-being.
But
So thank you.
it's interesting also because you to
Mm,
see it from a different perspective, to
mm,
want to give to others, you need to be full yourself. You can't
mm.
give 100% to others if you are running on empty. If
On
you are running on
empty.
fumes, you can't show up to others and 100% because you're doing harm to yourself and to them, you know. So to show up for them in the most best way for them, you need to protect your peace. You need to regenerate and fill up your cup. And when you are
Exactly.
full, you can give to others, but only from that place. Otherwise, it can't
I'm so
happen.
I'm so glad you shared that. It's so important. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You
Yeah.
really have to take care of you to be available to others. And if you are
Yes.
finding yourself struggling, you're exhausted, you have been there for everybody else, it's time to take a moment to pause and protect your peace and set those
Yes.
boundaries. So let's look
100%.
about midlife, and identity and career. You have a particular interest in supporting midlife women. Now, why do you think midlife can be such a significant turning point?
Because it's such a melting pot of such the crossroads of everything.
Mm.
The perimenopause, the hormonal change, the
Change.
first and fundamental hormonal change in your body, where you have everything screaming at you. You want to kill and smother you're that rage, the
Yeah.
utter rage, the rage with others and yourself. You can't even understand your body. It's just
Mm-hmm.
so hormonal changes,
Mm.
empty nest. Maybe you have children and now they're at university or they're working or they moved away and now you're alone and they don't need you in the same way. And then you start to question, who am I now with that no one needs me? Or that if you've gone through a divorce, I'm like, I've hit all those titles, like empty nest, divorce, widower,
Yeah.
I'm just collecting these titles. And I
Yeah.
know firsthand what it feels like. And it just
Mhm.
goes, and now what? But we live for such a long time now, more than
Mhm.
ever, if in your 50s, you've still got another 20 years. But
Yeah.
does that mean you want to work in
Mhm.
the same way as before? No,
Mm.
you still want to contribute and work and show up, but in a different way. But you're maybe lost. I'm like, what do I do now?
Mhm.
Maybe you've started to work straight from school or from university and did something because it felt like the right thing but you never really stopped to question, do I actually love what I'm doing?
Yeah.
How many people actually stop and question, what do I stand for? Who am I? What are my values?
Yeah.
How do I want to contribute and show up in the
Yeah.
world? What's my legacy?
Mhm.
So all of those parts, maybe you've got caring responsibility and you need to care for your parents or a sibling or and they now, and you really want to care for them, but you might feel resentful or that mixed emotions and you're reevaluating your life. It's just at that crossroads of so many different things
Yeah.
that you start to question all these things and you're like, it's so
Mhm.
overwhelming. And I feel that a lot of women are going through this and not
Yes.
enough has been done, or it's not spoken enough because it can look like, ungratefulness, and you feel, I've got a good life, I've got nothing to complain about, but I don't feel like I want more. This is not enough. And it might look, and you feel like you can't say anything to anybody because they're like, what are you complaining about? Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. It's such a significant turning point. And I just want to quickly read what I wrote here, that midlife is not a middle of the road plateau, it's a summit. From this height, you can look back with gratitude for everything built and survived, while looking forward with clear eyes at the vast expanse of what is still to come. And so sometimes, like you say, many people make us feel guilty, like, what are you still looking for? You've done so much, you have so much to be grateful for. Of course, while we can look back with gratitude, we can also look forward, because it's not the end. It doesn't mean that this is the plateau phase for us. There is still a summit. There's still more to achieve. And
Yeah.
so we can look forward and go forward, after midlife. It's such, as somebody said that, like at midlife, it's like a different form of energy. And you have
Yes.
gained so much in life that you cannot afford not to show up and to keep going and achieving.
Oh,
Thank
100%.
you.
I've still got so much zest for life. For me, I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to still live and grab life by the horns and just live it.
and
And
just
I'm
live
not going to
it.
be sidelined, but I might not want to work the 60 hours before, like I did
Uh-huh.
before, for somebody else. I might want to work 60 hours for myself
For
or
myself.
from home or in a different way. But I know I want to do something,
Something. Yeah. Thank you. So let's say, what advice would you give to someone who feels they feel they've lost themselves?
that they're not alone, that
Mm,
they are experiencing something that's utterly, completely normal,
mm,
and they're going to be okay, and to trust in the process. They might feel alone, lost, don't know where to turn, but to trust in their inner capabilities that they got this. They
yeah.
are able to complete what they want to complete in life, and they've got this. They might not be able to do it in the current form, so they might
Mhm.
need support. They'll need
Yeah.
to seek out a supportive network, and there's so much help out there.
Mhm.
So to find their tribe, their community, and to speak about it with their girlfriends, the people, their friends around them. And if they're not feel that they can't, then to seek
Mhm.
out help, where there's so many coaches, myself included, at Phoenix Coaching, where
Yeah.
we offer a free hour of free coaching just to see what coaching's about and just to listen.
Mhm.
And a lot of coaches, most coaches will offer that free hour,
Yeah.
and you need to find a coach that you align with and you resonate with and are able to, move forward in the direction that you want to go with. And of
Yeah.
course, you might need to do some previous work. You might need therapy first, and
Mm.
absolutely go and seek that. There's,
Yeah.
go and seek the help that you need, to ask, to talk about it. No, don't, it's not something to be fearful of, even though it feels scary and lonely
Mm.
and like overwhelming, but just to start the conversation. And if they're not able to do it with the people around them, to seek out individuals that they can have that conversation with. And if they need professional help, being from a therapist or from a medical practitioner in whatever form that is, or a coach, but to seek the help that they need.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And, to the woman listening today, if you're feeling lost in yourself, you are not alone. And like what Maria has shared, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. And Maria is a coach, you can reach out to her. Like she said, if you think it's therapy you need, don't just sit there with yourself. If you're feeling lost in yourself, there is help, there is support available. And it's important that you seek this support for yourself, because you don't have to do it all by yourself. Sometimes we need help. We struggle with our identity. We struggle with, the stage that we are in life. But when we have the right support, we can come out of that and continue to thrive. So let's go to the next question. This is practical advice now. For someone listening who feels overwhelmed, burnt out, or unsure of what's next, what are some signs they shouldn't ignore?
Signs that they shouldn't ignore. Fundamentally, any pain within their body, no matter how small. A pain is a sign of something.
Mm-hmm.
So a pain in their body, and a pain that, not just a physical pain, but a pain in their mind, in terms
Yeah.
of a overwhelming load that they feel it's too much. So a physical pain, you might need to go to your GP as your starting
Mm.
point, or a therapist,
Yeah.
a physical therapist.
Mm.
And if it's a feeling of overwhelm, or like your mental health is not there, seek out professional help with therapists, and always seek that professional help, but never ignore the pain and your inner intuition.
Yeah.
When you're pausing and you know within yourself there's something not right, never ignore that.
Never.
Seek help. Never ignore that. Seek help. Have that conversation. Don't feel that you're going to look silly or like, oh, this is a silly question, or seek out the help that you need. And even if it's a financial, oh, I can't afford this, there's lots of free help out there. Like I said, free coaching, not just myself, but others always offer some free coaching. Samaritans, if you just want to have somebody to sort of listen to, medical help with your GP, always push, never just accept, oh, well, this is the way it is. You deserve to be the most healthiest, full human being that there is, and honor your self-worth by doing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's so important that we don't ignore, some signs. And like I used to say, my elder sister told me a long time ago that anything you feel in your body that you cannot explain and do not understand, don't sit on it. Go and ask your doctor a question. Just go and talk to somebody. Don't ignore it. Don't be so busy that you ignore the things that your body is telling you. Please listen and don't ignore these important signs. So let's ask another question. How can women begin to redefine success on their own terms?
I think fundamentally it's looking at, I think a good starting point is looking at values. And journaling on or reflecting back on moments in their life when they were truly happy and what components that was made of. If it's when they were in nature or when they were surrounded by people, what were the elements that when they were really, really happy, what were the key things that involved? But equally, what makes them really, really mad and what really frustrates them, and write that down, and then look at the opposite. So if it's somebody that is always late or somebody that's always lying and you hate liars and you like toxic people, look at what the reverse. If you hate lying, then you value honesty. And when everything's a mess, you value order. So looking at your values is key. And then looking, for me, it was very much about doing this exercise of and I took it from another workbook of a session that I had. And you had to look at your funeral, and you had to look at the people around you, your loved, closed ones, and they were doing their eulogy and they were speaking about you and what you would want them to say. And it was tough because I had to write what my son would say and what my siblings and parents and friends would say. And it's tough, it's brutal, but it really gets you to think of how you want to show up for the rest of your life. And if there's a gap between what you're doing now and how you want to be remembered for, how can you close that gap? So value work, the work that you want to be known for, or your legacy, or doing things that make you feel utterly, purely happy. And what's the gap? How can you close that gap? And once you're doing something that makes you feel truly happy and aligned and resonates with your innermost authentic self, that for me is that definition of success.
Exactly. And for midlife women, this is so important. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to show up? What legacy do you want to leave? That should begin to help you redefine success, and not just what society expects of you or what your family expects of you. Your values and the things that are important to you should help you redefine success in your own terms. So quick fire questions. We're coming to the end of the interview, and I'm just going to ask these questions. Please answer with the first thought that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong.
I shall try.
So we'll go now. Success is
ability to say no.
Balance is
Having choice.
One thing I wish every woman knew.
That they're going to be okay and that they have the capacity to change and redefine themselves as they want to. And they can, and they will nail it.
Yeah. I feel most like myself when
I'm in nature. I'm in nature and it's just blissful.
the biggest lesson my head journey has taught me is
to trust myself.
One habit I refuse to compromise on is
protecting my peace.
And living a meaningful life means
living my almost authentic life with alignment with my values, when I am just happy from every single pore and I'm sustained from the inside out.
Amazing. And one final question. At the Marvellous-U Podcast, we believe everyone has the capacity to live a life that reflects who they truly are. What does living marvelously mean to you?
It means just living in accordance to my values. Will it move me closer to my values or further away? And just to trust in the process and trust in myself and trust in the balance, and then to surrender to a higher being.
Thank you so much, Maria, for sharing your story and your experience with us today. What a powerful conversation. Thank you for joining us on the Marvellous-U Podcast today. And to my audience listening, I think one of the biggest reminders from today's episode is that success isn't simply about how much we achieve, how busy we are, or how much we can carry. Sometimes success means knowing when to pause. It means listening to your body, reevaluating your priorities, setting boundaries, changing direction when something no longer fits, and giving yourself permission to create a life that works for the woman you are today, not the woman you are expected to be. And if you're listening to this and you have been putting yourself last, I hope today's conversation encourages you to stop and ask yourself, what is my life asking me to pay attention to right now? You don't necessarily have to change everything overnight. Sometimes the first step is simply acknowledging that something needs to change. A huge thank you to my guest, Maria Varela, for sharing her story and her experience today, her wisdom, her perspective so openly. She has really shared from her heart. And to the woman listening and watching, thank you for spending this time with us. If something from today's episode or conversation resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a woman who might need to hear it. And if you need support, Maria, with Phyllis Coaching, I'll put all of the details in the description box. You can contact her and reach her. If you need that space to have the support from another woman, please contact Maria. You will have all her details in the description box. So if you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification so you don't miss the next episode. If you're listening on Spotify or on your favorite podcast platform, please follow the podcast and leave us a review. It really helps other women to find these conversations. Remember, you don't have to have everything figured out to begin again. Sometimes living marvelously simply means having the courage to listen to yourself and take the next right step. Until next time, take care of yourself, make yourself a priority, and keep choosing a life that feels meaningful to you. Maria, you want to say something?
Thank you so much for being on this podcast, inviting me, and for listening. And look up my website, phoenixcoaching.co.uk, and I'm here whenever you need me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. This is Grace, and this is the Marvellous-U Podcast.